Guys, so it's going to be a pretty short little clip video thing here. Basically just giving an update on what I plan to do with the next Guild Wars thing. So getting back into Guild Wars, we do have somebody who's potentially going to play with us and test the game out themselves, so we might play with them some. Um, but I think I'm going to do this a little bit differently compared to how I did it in the past. So every time that a new expansion and stuff came out in the past, I made a completely new character and played the game from level 1 all the way to level 80, leveling up in the personal storyline and doing each story one after the other in order until the expansion, just to refresh the story and everything in my head and stuff when I was going through it. This time, I think there's kind of a difference for me. One is I'm a little 50-50 on leveling up some more characters. Two is I accidentally spent $20 I wasn't attempting to spend, um, and ended up getting extra level 80 boosters. So that's an accident that I wish kind of didn't happen, but whatever. So the other thing is that the new expansion actually changes the weapon bind for the elite specs. So that means that I can now use shield and some other weapons with different combinations um, on my character, which I think is potentially opening the door for me to try some classes that I normally wouldn't. So, like Elementalist, for instance, I couldn't force myself to play Elementalist in any of the games for the most part. In Guild Wars 1, I had an Elementalist that I theory crafted some builds on for fun every now and then, but I barely ever touched it. But now, since I can use shields without having to be stuck in a particular class, mainly like my Chronomancer Mesmer, and I think Chronomancer Mesmer is really thematic for like racial abilities, and that's why I have like the Asura and like my human Chronomancer Mesmers. But now I have the new one, which means I can actually attempt a couple of different elite specializations that I wouldn't in the past. So I'm thinking Virtuoso, Mesmer, and then probably either a sword or a hammer elementalist, maybe. And it's going to be a new play style that I really haven't got to play going through the game. So I think it's going to be a fun experience. It's probably not going to be nearly as good as my warrior builds for sure. But we also have the dervish. So the revenant, we've made a couple of revenants in the past. We've leveled them up, but I don't really play them that much because their abilities just are kind of odd to me. And so like I have a couple. But basically, I've renamed one of them that was already level 80, and it already has some gear that's kind of what I'm looking for. But I'm gonna remake a dervish from Guild Wars 1, my original dervish that apparently they've shortened the name limit of your characters since the launch of the game, so I can no longer use his name, which kind of sucks, but I could, kind of make it work. So I'm gonna make a dervish. And I'll probably keep the Roman theme on that character as well because he already has the armor. So Roman Dervish, and then we're gonna have the Mesmer. I'm gonna make it like it's Arcane Knight basically. I'm gonna do Knight armor, Arcane style. So a lot of purple, and then the Elementalist we're gonna make into a Mage Knight, so a Knight class that uses magics. Um, so that's going to be kind of interesting. And then we'll have probably our new warrior go and do that as well. He's level 40 right now, so I don't know if I want to boost him with a booster, but if I do, I get celestial gear, which is usually what I use for my builds on my warrior. Like all my other really good warrior builds, usually one of them, at least the Roman one, has celestial gear. I'm trying to think because the Warriors have access to more boons now than they did, so it could be good. The healing power and the other stuff I'm not sure about. And then like the Mesmer, I don't necessarily need celestial gear on it, but if I wanted to do a condition build or some sort of hybrid, it might be good to have it. I don't know. Um, but we also need to level up our crafting, so at least one of our characters needs to have like max crafting skill. So I can probably just do that with the warrior. But to do these expansions, I'm thinking I'm probably gonna have my Mesmer and the Elementalist leveled up, maybe the Dervish, because we don't have access to the primeval armor for the Dervish yet, so I'll probably just set on my heels for a while until that primeval Dervish armor comes back, and then we'll have our Dervish, because we did put in a buy order for a scythe. The Elementalist and the Mesmer will probably get them to 80, go straight to Cantha, EOD, play through the entire EOD storyline, and then play the new pieces that got put out not too long ago that I haven't got to play yet. So I'll get to refresh just over the EOD story, and then we will go straight into the extra stuff. And then probably from there we'll go Secrets of Obscure, or we can go Secrets of Obscure first, so I can get my builds finished. So when I get off work, uh, I don't know if I'm going to be staying up or not. I'm not. I don't believe that I'm going to be working on the houses this week, and I'll be picking up the pup and dropping off some homemade ice cream and stuff today. So I might show up tonight or something along those lines, or when I get home, I'll do the first part of that. So since I have the boosters, I can boost the Mesmer and the Elementalist, and then probably do a hero point run on both of them to unlock the elite spec. Um, And then from there, we're probably going to need to go into Secrets of Obscure so that we can unbind the weapon to the elite spec. As far as I understand, that's how it works. So after that's done, we can go through and do the Secrets of Obscure, and then go back through and do the End of Dragons. So, and then it's going to be on a class that I've never played before, so I might get stomped a bit. And I don't want to look up meta builds or anything else. I'm very particular with when it comes to casters usually. So the Virtuoso, I'm probably more interested in that than the Elementalist, but the Elementalist, usually when I play them in every game, I make them just massive damage AoE nuke bombs for the most part. I don't really care about my Elementalist being super tanky, um, but we might find some balance, you know. I don't really know if stacking armor on an Elementalist is good or not. Um, yeah, it's gonna be interesting for sure. But I'm starting off with just probably trying to get some power gear or something on both of those characters. Virtuoso, I think, is power. Um, I also want to get soldier gear on my warrior. This is the other thing, I'm not fully sure about using a booster on my warrior, my newest warrior, because my game plan was to just go and do Ascalonian Dungeon and stuff and get some basic soldier's armor, and then play through the game with soldier's armor just to see what it's like. Um, but I could see the Celestial still being useful, especially with the new boon stuff, because we get boon duration and healing power and stuff with that armor, which is pretty good, and hybrid damage. So yeah, that sword shield longbow build is basically, but that warrior I think only gets 3 build slots. So if we use soldiers for one, that's already going to be kind of putting us in a bad spot because we were doing, I think, knight's armor or something along those lines the last time I was messing with those builds, and we're doing it for, I think, sword shield greatsword or sword shield rifle. Those power, armor, and then ferocity, and then we were boosting our ferocity even higher with stats. If we do power, vitality, and ferocity, then we could potentially boost our ferocity to the highest it could go. That's probably the most damage that you can get burst wise on a warrior. Because if they still have the trait for the warrior that transitions vitality to ferocity, then you're able to get like 3,000 health or something. There's also some stat, I don't remember what it was. It might have been on the dervish though. Something about there's like a ruin or there's a skill or something that does health to ferocity or something, health to damage, which I think is really interesting because I want to do something that I've never seen anyone do yet, and that's sentinel armor on the warrior. But with 3 build slots, we're gonna have to buy more build templates and stuff at some point. But starting off with 3, if we just go with the base standard hot like celestial Roman gear, I know I can complete most of the game, like pretty much the whole game with that, you know. It's been nerfed a little bit, but I could still beat probably everything with that build. Um, the power soldier's gear warrior, I don't know exactly how we're gonna do it yet, but it's power, toughness, and health. But it's more power than health, where Sentinel's gear is more health than power. But with that armor, I mean, we're going to be able to get our armor really high, our power really high. Then we can transition some health to ferocity potentially, maybe get a couple of extra ferocity bonuses in the armor. And then with that, we're going to try and go sword, shield, great sword. So I need to figure out the traits for it. But I'm going to attempt doing the same thing that we did with um, I think it was night. I think we did a celestial version of that build on our previous characters. So, uh, quickness on disable on the shield, and then quickness on crit, I think it was for the great sword, and then flurry with celestial gear. It increased the duration long enough to where you could almost infinitely have quickness up. Soldier's gear, I don't know if we can do that or not. But I think quickness and crit sigils on the great sword could be good because when you swap to the great sword, you're going to get that 3 seconds of quickness or the 3 seconds of crit, and then the quickness will activate as soon as you crit. So that first 100 blade strike, and then if we do the trait lines for crits on burst skills, we would be able to get crit on the flurry, and then we'd be able to get um, fury to boost our crit chance. That was the other thing that like we had stuff that would boost our crit chance naturally. Because we didn't use any food items, but we have Fury and then I think some trait with Berserker mode. I think increase the crit chance. If we can get like 50% crit chance, I'll be fine with it. The only problem was with the power build that the sword shield isn't going to be as good. And I think in the past we had pretty high bleed duration with the celestial armor. We basically had, yeah, condition damage with the celestial armor. So you did sword, shield, longsword. I'm kind of split on that though, because sword, shield, longsword with hybrid damage, basically, if you have your bleed duration long enough, when you use your sword, you can stack all those bleeds onto your target. And then when you swap over to the great sword, all those bleeds are still ticking, so you're still getting the benefits of the condition damage because they last so long while you're 100 blading, and then you swap back over to the sword shield again and you're using it. It's so I don't know if it's worthwhile or not. I think it is, you know, but I'm not positive. I think with a power build, if you had the same bleeding duration, I don't know how well the sword scales with power alone, but your great sword's going to scale better. That's hard to say. But we could always go axe shield maybe. But I just want to see kind of what it's like using that going through the game. But I guess we'll probably. I want to buy Celestial gear, but I think the gear comes with like an axe or something. You have to buy a sword anyway. I don't know. We'll see. But basically, I'm gonna probably at least take those three characters through. I guess four characters. We're gonna have to do four like Heart of Thorns hero point runs or something today or tomorrow or something. Like I'll at least get one of them done. Like we'll do one of them, I guess, today, and then as soon as I get time, I'll hop on and try to do that expansion as soon as I figure it out, and then kind of see what's going on there, and then test out that elite spec and stuff. Go through End of Dragons. Might try to do the walking challenge through End of Dragons. I don't know. Um, I've gotten to the point with the walking challenge that I'm thinking about only doing the walking challenges on the expansion packs because the core game isn't really hard enough in the open world for the walking challenge unless you're fighting like a big boss or something. Whereas like the End of Dragons walking challenge, those creatures respawn crazy fast. So if you're not strong enough, like you get ran over by those creatures, which is pretty tough. Like my warrior even had a little bit of trouble when I had those people following me last time. We went to the jungle and I couldn't peel them off of the back line good enough, and they kept respawning, and all the squishy people couldn't get through, and I was slowly kind of getting beaten down while trying to fight off all those creatures. But yeah, we'll see. I just think it's going to be interesting because this is the first time since like I've played. Don't get me wrong, I've played the other classes. I've played Guardian and Revenant and all that stuff, but I haven't really did anything crazy. Like I started and I do like the storyline, and then I'll kind of branch off. Like none of those classes had me play it that much, really, because I didn't like their abilities and stuff that much. Uh, so I've been playing Warrior for a long time, and I played Thief before that, and then I never really played Thief anymore just because Thief it didn't really seem like there was that good of a trade-off with Thief in the past. Like I might revisit it and go back and play on that Thief a bit, but it was just like a lot of unneeded pressure on my Thief trying to play it in the game when like Warrior could just handle things better. So maybe I'll get back on him at some point. But for now, I want to at least do those two playthroughs with the Elementalist and the Mesmer. So those two are going to be first. We're going to keep our eyes out for the Primeval Dervish armor and try to get our hands on that to get the Dervish Revenant going, and then we need to boost up our warrior. So I guess I guess we could go ahead and boost him to 80. I don't feel like I made him that long ago. Oh yeah, cause yeah, I remember now. So that warrior I had we set in the pre-searing event area in the human zone and leveled him up to like 12 or 15 or something before we left. So he's already like level 40. But the other thing is like if I put crafting skill on him, that seems like a waste. Because like after I get him to level 80, like I can put the crafting skill on him, but it's not like I might as well level up. It's like 10 levels for 200 or something in each of those. So I mean, there's at least four, so you're already looking at like 40 levels just leveling up there, and You might as well just do that. So I might just need to make another character at some point. Oh, what character would I make? I mean, we deleted an Assyrian Guardian not too long ago. But yeah, that's just the game plan. We'll look at it when I get back home. Only got, you know, 15 minutes or so until I can start packing up and getting ready. So I'll see you guys then, all right?